Elections have consequences. Elections have consequences.
Hi, everyone. Hi, everybody. Sandra Sheffer, host of Racing the Races. This is our last episode for 2025. This is actually the last Wednesday in 2025 and the last day of 2025 that I'm recording this video and showing it for you. So we're going to do a bit of a year in review. The title of this episode is going to be 2025, a year in review, country, county, and community. I'm going to try to keep it at about 30 minutes. So that's what we're going to try to do moving forward in the upcoming year. I'm also going to truly focus on bringing in candidates for 2026 because those elections that are going to happen, the primaries that are happening in Florida in August, primaries are happening in other states at different times. So we really need to introduce candidates to the community because it's going to be very important for everyone to be engaged, for everyone to vote, to try to see if we could bring some changes in our country, some changes in our county, and some changes in our community, because 2025 was absolutely a test of endurance. It was a test of faith. It was just a test of everything. It seems as though I had to use all of the tools in my toolbox. I had to figure out when it was a time to pivot. I had to figure out when it was a time to just surrender. It was a time I had to figure out if there was a time to just stand still. We had to determine, like, oh no, is this one of the moments in which we need to engage and act? Because, after the results of the November 2024 election, many Black women were like, listen, this on y'all, I'm going to rest. And I'm not going to say many, I'm part of that many. I was part of that group that's like, listen, I did my part. I voted. I engaged. I, introduced people to candidates. I, trained people. I, did all of the things. I spoke on how important it was for the country to come together and really make the right decision in November, because I thought I truly believe that there was a big difference between the two candidates in November 2024, particularly the presidential candidates. I believe there was a big difference because there are times in our elections where, there will be some difference in your life, depending on who it is that becomes the president, but it's not so much, right? Because the president, the decisions that they make are usually so far from most people's everyday life, right? Because we always talked about how elections are local. We need to really pay attention to down ballot candidates. It's important who your commissioners are, your city council members, your school board members. Those people are important because those are truly the individuals that really make the decisions that impact your everyday life. Not to say that the presidency wasn't important, but it really was something that was so far away because it was real federal and a lot of things are local. Focus on your local elections, focus on your state elections, because those are the people that are having everyday impact on your life, right? Now, 2025 taught us something very different. It taught us that nope, the decisions that are being made, particularly by this president, are having impact on everybody's everyday life, and it's very local, right? And particularly what I'm more familiar with than the other issues that are impacting folks is how immigration has had such a big impact on everyone throughout the United States. It's a problem, I think, that's throughout the country. It's definitely a problem that impacts the county that I live in, and it absolutely impacts the community that I'm a part of, right? So November 2024, really, I truly believe that it was no. I was like, no, this election is different. There is clearly a right choice to be made. There is a choice that if people make it, we're going to feel it. We're going to feel it, and we're going to feel it in a very bad way. So I thought it was very clear. I not only had this conversation with the public, on this platform. I've had this conversation with people in my family. Not that they voted for the current president, but they chose not to vote for Kamala, for example. There's like, no, I'm not voting for her. I can't vote for her. There isn't really going to be a difference in our lives. There were some policy issues that I believe she would have maybe aligned with the current president, but the ones that I think that were significant, it was very different, right? She was talking about things like providing opportunities for people to become homeowners, with tax credit and benefits and programs and those types of things, right? We also know that her immigration policy would have absolutely been nothing like the policy that we have right now that's really impacting country, county, and community, right? So there was a very stark difference, but they're like, no, 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 it's all going to be the same. And because I was a part of, Trump first administration, the 45 administration, I was like, it's not going to go well. It's not going to go well. It's really going to be bad. And we really need to make a different choice. And folks are like, no, it's not. No, no, no. And listen, the first week we were feeling it. If not the first, no, not even what am I saying the first week? No, the first, excuse me, 2 days in office, because that's when he decided to pardon everybody from January 6, 2021. He did that the first 2 days in office. Them people was getting out of jail, getting their sentences vacated or commuted or whatever it was the first 2 days in office. And I'm like, listen, I teach con law, but on a community college level, right? So I'm not gonna act like I'm not constitutional law expert or anything like that, right? Now I do know we have First Amendment protections against free speech, protesting, and petition our government and do all of those things, right? So there are very well some people that can look at what happened on January 6th and say that was, folks exercising their First Amendment constitutional right, right? That's a possibility. Yes, some people are going to see it like that, and I'm all for your constitutional rights, okay? Now, there are a bunch of us that's going to be like, no, 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 no. That was a straight up attempted coup d'etat on the American government, and that's what it was. And even if you don't want to go so far to say that it was like an attempted coup d'etat on the American government, please don't act like, hey, nothing happened. It was nothing to see here. Those people did nothing wrong. Like, what do you mean? I mean, people died that day. Like, really, people died that day at the hands of these individuals who were protesting. Folks died. They had members of Congress that were hiding in their offices, hiding under chairs, barricading doors, afraid for their life, not knowing when this was going to end. They had people who were urinating, defecating, doing all of these terrible things in the halls of Senate. Like, come on, we can't act like nothing happened. So to suggest that those were pardonable offenses, listen, I don't agree. And that I use that as an example just to talk about how, we were day one, day two of, that was setting a tone of what the rest of this year was going to look like, right? And then, of course, then the immigration policy started, the what they call them, the executive orders that he was signing, which I want everyone to understand that executive orders are not law. Well, I mean, they're law in the interim, but those are all things that another executive order can be signed and they can go away, right? And what the other part I wanted to point out too is a president sign an executive order because he don't believe he can get his Congress to do, to change the law or do what it is that he's trying to get them to do, right? And that's not the way of government because, I remember like learning something, it's been a very long time since I've been in the 5th grade, but, we learned about 3 co-equal branches of government. They were all there to have checks and balances. No one should have more power over the other, but this is not what we saw. This is not what we witnessed in 2025. And it's not because the Constitution failed. It's not because the forms of government that we have failed. It's just that we had not the form of government didn't fail. What happened was that we had people in power who allowed for the failure of the system. So if you have someone who doesn't have the character to do what is right, to follow what it is that the founding fathers of this country set forth, then this is where you end up. You end up with a person who basically bully folks into doing things that are wrong. You end up with an administration where they have corrupt people on the court who are too scared to do what they know the rule of law calls for them to do. I went to law school, wasn't a top law student, but you don't have to be the top law student to know that a lot of what's happening in this administration is unconstitutional, it's illegal, it's just against the law. It's just not how things, not only that's not how they should be done, they're just not legally sound. And we see that they know this because things that they say in the public space, they won't go into court and argue them. And when they do go into court and argue them, the judges are looking at them like, are you crazy? Like, what are you doing? Right? So all that to say is that 2025 has really was a really test of endurance. It challenged us. We witnessed when you have a person who is lawless in power, what types of things that can happen. And people's lives, they can't say it's better. I mean, they really can't say it's better. People, we had folks who were talking about, oh no, I voted for this because the cost of this is too high, eggs are too high, groceries are too high, all of this. Please, okay? If you thought prices of groceries and everything was high in 2024, they're all higher now. Every single thing. There's nothing you could have paid for in November of 2024 that you're paying less for it right now as we sit in December 2025. It's just nothing, right? You pull out your old Instacart or DoorDash or whatever that you ordered a year ago and see what it's costing you now. These tariffs have not been helpful. People are losing their businesses. Farmers are losing their farms. Folks are losing their jobs. They've cut government employees. That was probably the most secure place you could have worked was when you were working in government, and that's no longer the case. People are losing their jobs. I mean, from the first month, not even like there's nothing. As soon as he got in there, within the first month, people were getting fired, losing their jobs, losing their benefits, saying you better go now or else, it has just been a year of our country deserves better, right? The country deserves better. And we have an opportunity in August of 2026 to start that path of doing better. Now we have an opportunity now, right? Because we need these good candidates to come, start running for office. We need folks to start volunteering for those candidates. We need folks to start making donations if you can. And if you don't have money, please find some time, even if it's 1, 2, 3 hours, a week, a day, a day, whatever it is, start giving your time to these candidates that's going to go in and do the change that we absolutely need to see. Because let me tell you, at the rate things are happening right now, this is already no longer sustainable. And I just can't imagine if we continue at this decline, what the county, the county, the community is going to look like by the time this administration leaves in 2029. So we need to stand behind great candidates. We need great candidates to step up. We need to support them. If it's, like I said, volunteering, donating money, donating time, whatever it is that you can do, we need to support individuals that's coming in. Now, the elected officials that are there right now, listen, I really don't care if y'all vote every single one of them out of office. I truly don't. Like, there are definitely some that were on the right side of things. They did the right thing. Maybe out of the 435 members of the U.S. House of Representatives, maybe a good 50 of them can stay. I don't even know if I can get to 50, but let's say 50 of them stay. But let me tell you, if you vote out 385 of them, ain't nobody gonna be mad at you, because those folks have literally sat there and did absolutely nothing that was beneficial for the American people. Today's the last day of with the Obamacare, Affordable Care Act. So people insurance premiums are going to go up. I went to the eye doctor today to make sure I got my, got new glasses. I still have on the old ones because the other ones will come in a couple of weeks. But I was like, let me make sure I go ahead and use my benefit now, because who knows what that's going to look like come next year, right? I saw all the doctors I needed to see. Of course, we do have to see them every year, but I made sure I got all of my appointments in, because what is that going to look like, next year? Folks are really going to be in a position where they're not going to be able to afford health insurance, right? Because the rates are going to go up, right? They got their we had some Democrats that decided to vote with the Republicans and agreed to reopen the government without a deal being made on the Affordable Care Act. I believe that was a mistake. I know the country was absolutely suffering, because I have friends who work for government that were going to work every day, showing up, not getting paid. I understand that. They started not funding different programs. So those decisions that were happening in DC were affecting people on a local level, particularly those that had, early childhood centers. They weren't getting paid if they were getting paid by the state to provide services for children. So we saw them. They were like, we're not paying anybody. I have friends who worked at nonprofit organizations. All of their funding was pulled and they no longer had jobs. So this was an example where what was happening in the federal government absolutely made it to county and community, right? So again, we used no, down ballot candidates, but the top of the office, the top of the ticket absolutely mattered in 2024. And we spoke on that consistently and tried to get folks to make different decisions. Now, I don't want to be one of those people who go and say, oh, no, there was some shenanigans that happened during that 2024 election cycle. I mean, history is going to tell us, if that was in fact the case, that information at some point will become known. But I don't, I don't have nothing to say that happened. So I won't say that. Now, if it turns out that there were some shenanigans, I won't be surprised. Now, there were a little bit of shenanigans, right? Because, you had Elon Musk offering people $1 million, so, oh my God. Right. So there was oh yeah, go do this and you'll get $1 million and all kinds of stuff. I'm not gonna say they was buying votes, but okay. So there were some things that were a little, we're like, well, that's what they doing. Where they doing that at? Yeah, right. And then also so many things that were normally paid by government were privately funded, and those folks weren't giving up no money without getting something in return. At least that historically, that's how it is. People don't do those kind of things unless they have some sort of expectation of getting something back in return. And then we also saw how, and the other thing that, and I'm saying a little too much today, but this is one of those things where, yeah, I need to. And I also had to stop watching a lot of mainstream media news because the positions that they were taking on not really telling the truth about what was going on, right? And I was like, no, I can't watch it because it's just crazy. And I tried, and I really spent most of the year not watching a lot of mainstream news. I read a lot of the news that I get. I still stay informed. But you really have to seek some version of the truth or seek information. It's not going to be readily available to you if you just rely on just the mainstream media to provide information to you, right? So on the country side of things, we have an opportunity to make some changes and do better. And I absolutely want us to take that opportunity and start supporting candidates that are running for federal office, U.S. House of Representatives, U.S. Senate. There are seats. Well, Florida, I think we have a seat that we have. Ashley Moody was appointed to take over Marco Rubio's seat. I have to check to see if she has to run. I don't think so. I think she's allowed to finish out his term because I don't know if an election was scheduled. When I come back next year with the next episode, then I'll bring clarification on that. But we do have House of Representatives seats because those seats are only 2 years. So every one of those seats in the state of Florida are up. And I believe we're at about 30. We're either 29 or 30 seats. So y'all have some decisions to make, and I hope you all make the right decisions so we can possibly make Hakeem Jeffries Speaker of the House, because we know Mike Johnson isn't there to do the work of the people. He's absolutely not there to do that. So if nothing else, if we can flip the House of Representatives, that'll at least be a step in the right direction to do some good things, to do some good work. I have a friend that's running North Carolina U.S. House seat 14, Lakeisha Womack. She's running in North Carolina. So volunteer for her campaign. She's already opened up her stuff to sign up to volunteer. I believe you can already start donating to her campaign. That's out of North Carolina. And of course, you know, the folks in Florida are running for re-election. I don't want to get into saying that I'm supporting or not supporting anybody. I'm just saying, look at what folks have done in this last year, what positions they've taken, how it is that they've tried to stand on anything, and then, you know, make your decisions accordingly. All right. So that's country, right? That's country. Oh, and I really could have gotten into the immigration side of things. But that is, Lord, I don't even, immigration is real bad. That it is real bad, and that is definitely something that's impacting everybody. I think they have almost 70,000 people that are in custody. They probably removed over. I saw a number that was like 600,000 or 700,000 folks that may have been removed, and that might be that may also include a number of folks who have self-deported. I personally know people who've done that, who like one partner was removed, they took voluntary departure, the rest of the folks self-deported. There's like, yo, get me out of here because I don't want to be locked up into nothing, right? So that has definitely happened. That is happening. That's having an effect on local communities. Folks who voted for this. And since I'm in South Florida, I'll talk a little bit about the Cuban and Venezuelan community. Those folks were heavily supporting the current president. And let me tell you, he gave them his butt. Okay. The decisions that he's making right now on immigration is impacting those communities in a significant way. Challenges that they never thought they would have to deal with, particularly Cuban nationals, they're dealing with it. They are feeling the consequence of that decision right now. And so we don't know what that's going to do. Maybe that'll flip Miami-Dade County back to blue. I know they just elected a Democratic mayor. So Eileen Higgins, I believe is her name. So Miami elected a female Democratic mayor, so that may be a sign of things to come because the Republicans did them dirty. They did them dirty. They voted for this mess and did them dirty. So we'll see. Now, on the county level, I'm briefly going to talk about the Broward County School Board. Because, you know, they back in some mess. They stay in some mess. They're back in some mess, right? The most recent mess is that they realized that procedures weren't followed. The right information wasn't provided to the board when they were voting on lease spaces, on contracts, and, you know, and all of these kind of things, right? So the board wasn't given information. They supported things that they shouldn't support. They also supported things that they couldn't afford. They have themselves in a budget crisis. They keep trying to act like it ain't, but it is. It absolutely is. And more recently, the latest appointed board member, he's the one that took over for what's her name? I see her face. Why can't I remember her name? She resigned from the board earlier this year. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I can't remember your name right now. I see her face, but I can't. So the latest board member has actually sent out a letter and said that he wanted to see Wanda Paul leave office because she's partly responsible for what happened with I think it's Hardy lease and with approving companies to work on projects without following the proper procedure. And so he was like, no, she has to go, right? And then she decides to resign, but she gets to stay in her job till June. And will continue to work in the office until about April, and then take the last 2 months off, you know, and resign June 5th. I'm like, really? That's how people quit their jobs? You quit your jobs and you get to go back to work, have access to all the information, continue to make decisions, right? And your decisions is part of the reason why people are in the school board, the Broward County Public School System is in the situation they in is because of your decision making. But you get to stay working, continue to make decisions through April. Really? Okay, so when I was working and there was some poor performances happening and you were not gonna have your job no more, I remember getting emails that the code on the door changed and this person wasn't coming back into the building. So listen, I'm not in no position to tell nobody not to have no job because I know how hectic it is. I know what these bills look like. I know how they hit. However, I just don't see how that makes sense to continue to allow a person to have access to information and to continue to make decisions, important decisions nonetheless, important financial decisions nonetheless, when their decision making is why the school system is in the situation that they're in. And I'm not going to give her blame for all of this, right? Because the mess have been going on for a while. From the minute they got rid of Runcie, it has been nothing but poor decisions being made by board members, by people that's affiliated with the Broward County Public School System. It has been nothing but poor decisions since then. I think we're on superintendent number 4, 5, whatever. We probably going to be on looking for number 6 soon. I'm not saying that man should lose his gig. I don't know. I know he already probably don't like me, but I here for that, right? So because some of this poor decision making, he's responsible for it, right? If the fish rot from the head, you the leader of the pack, and your tribe and your troop is doing bad things, like some of that's on you, bro. Right. So we're going to see what happened with that. But I really think it's very surprising to me that she'll be able to keep her job and have access to information and continue to make decisions on behalf of the school system and the board, and her decision making is why we here. Like, yeah, I don't understand all that. I don't understand that. So maybe they'll revisit that, and when they have their next board meeting in January, somebody gonna make a motion for something else to happen. For something else to happen, because I don't see how that makes a lot of sense. So that's the school board. And, in the facilities, I remember I did a facilities episode about a month and a half, maybe 2 months ago now. People are starting to deal with the consequences of that. I think there are more folks who are going to be held accountable for, renting out school buildings without the school and the children benefiting. At some point, again, so this is another opportunity. I think we have about 4 or 5 of the board seats that are up in 26. So we have an opportunity to replace those folks too, right? We have an opportunity to replace those folks. Listen, don't get mad at me because y'all sat there and ain't do a good job again. Because come on, y'all came in there, these board members got elected. Oh, we're going to, because that's when that they had to remove I think like 4 of those folks because they mismanaged some funds before. And then you got these folks that came and said, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to make changes, blah, 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 blah. And the places that were supposed to get built, fixed, roofs done, mold out the building, the roof ain't done, the mold is still in the building. I don't think they finished not one project since 2022. Maybe they did. Hey, if you did, let me know and I will correct myself. But I don't know what they've done since, in the last 4 years, but increased debts, incurred debts, situations getting worse. Still can't vote on what schools they want to close because they chicken, and they're not, if you're going to do it, just go ahead and do it. But what I do know is that you continue to disenfranchise Black communities or communities where the majority of the students are Black and brown students. Y'all underserve them, y'all underfund them, y'all don't give them what they need. And then when they can't perform because you guys haven't provided them with the tools that they needed to perform, you're like, oh, we got to close the school because they're underperforming. I mean, you create the underperforming situation and then punish them for underperforming. But okay, that's on voters. You guys have decisions to make. There are people that have already decided to run against the folks that are in their seats right now. So you have an opportunity to vote for someone else. And I think you should really take advantage of that opportunity and vote for someone else on the county side of things. So I did, mainly talked about the school because that's a big thing that's happening in the county right now. In terms of community, I live in one of the best cities in Broward, where they're having their New Year's Eve, bringing in New Year's countdown event at the Miramar Park over there on 168th Avenue and Miramar Parkway. They're going to do the drop, the countdown, and it's also to benefit people who were impacted by the hurricane. I think it was Melissa. I think it was Hurricane Melissa that hit Jamaica recently. So it's not only is it an event to bring in the New Year's, it's also a fundraiser to raise money to support, the victims of Hurricane Melissa that hit Jamaica. All right, Haitian folks, y'all ain't tell me me what y'all was doing, so I couldn't promote your event. But if there's some fundraiser, oh no, the Haitian Mobilization group, they're having an event on January the 10th in Lauderdale Lakes. I believe part of that maybe is a fundraiser for Haiti. So that's January 10th. I'll have another opportunity to talk about that and promote that, and maybe I'll bring one of the promoters for that event on so they can talk about it too. So New Year's Eve tonight, if you can get to the city of Miramar, not only are they doing the countdown for midnight, they're also raising money for victims of Hurricane Melissa in Jamaica. So what do I want y'all to do? I want y'all to register to vote. I want you, if you're, American citizens only, register to vote, right? I want folks to check their vote by mail ballot status because, Florida's a bunch of haters at the top, and they made it where you have to re-register every year to get a vote by mail ballot. So go ahead and re-register to vote by mail. And mind you, there's another thing that they've done. And with the United States Postal Service. Remember, postmark date used to be the date you take your stuff to the post office, they stamp it, and then that's the date that, that would count as the date in which your item was received and is postmark. But now postmark is no longer that. Postmark is like when an actual person gets it and they start processing it, right? Now, y'all know that's a mess right there because they can just pretty much decide to delay processing something, and then now your stuff isn't timely received, isn't timely filed, it isn't timely sent because somebody, all these, remember they're firing a whole bunch of stuff, so almost every government agency is understaffed. So if they can't get to it till they get to it, your stuff isn't processed, isn't in postmark, it isn't being processed. So now postmark dates are changing. It's not when you drop it off, it's when it gets into somebody's hand and it starts its trek in its delivery to the next location. That is a mess. So even with this vote by mail stuff, this is not going to be one of those times. This is not going to be one of those times where you can wait till the last minute, the last day to do anything. As a matter of fact, I think it's a way to discourage people actually from voting by mail, because if you deliver it to the post office and somebody decides to leave it in the corner for a week, there's no arguments for you to be made. I suspect this is also going to be litigated, but okay, you're going to litigate and then what? Whoever won because your vote didn't count because someone didn't get to, process it. Really, what are you going to do, right? So that's a recent change that already went into effect. So the days in which we could wait till the last minute to do things or to send things out, that's no longer the case. It's just no longer the case. I'm in a legal space, and there's documents that we used to be able to just file online, and the minute we filed it, somebody would go through, click a button, says received. I have some things that I filed 2 weeks ago, and nobody went to click the button to say it was received. So now, there's some concern about like whether or not is it going to be that this person appeal is going to be considered untimely because they didn't click the button, even though I sent it to them 2 weeks ago? We're going to see. We're going to see what we're going to see what happens. So it's tough. It's tough. So what do? We're registering to vote. We're going to check our vote by mail status. We're going to support candidates. Those who are interested in running, we want you to go ahead and run. And I'm talking to Democrat and Republicans alike, because there got to be some Republicans out here that got some sense, that are moderate, that are interested in doing the right thing, right? So register to vote. Check your vote by mail status and make sure you update it. Support a candidate. Donate money if you can. Decide to volunteer on a campaign. Encourage your family members, your friends, get them to register to vote, because this really needs to be all hands on deck. We definitely need to make a change in 26. Even if we cannot stop all of what's happening, we at least need to have people that are in there that's going to fight what's happening, and they're going to stand up for the people and go there and truly do the work of the people that sent them there, for them to represent the interests of, country, county, and community. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for your time. That's where we at. And like I said, 2025 was a test of endurance. It was a test of faith. It was just a test of all of the things. It was just a test of all of the things, test of your patience. We had to stand on faith. Some moments we had, like I said, we had to stand still. Some moments you had to surrender. Some moments you had to fight. We had to figure it out. We had to figure it out, right? The only goal I'm going to set for myself is I'm going to do more yoga, and I'm going to try to loosen my hips and learn how to do fire log pose. And if anybody who does yoga know what that one's like, that's probably one of the hardest poses to do in yoga. But yeah, I heard you hold a lot of trauma in your hips. So I'm going to try to release all my trauma in 2026 and learn how to do fire log and loosen my hips, whatever that means. All right. Have a good one. Have a good one. Give yourself grace. Typically my house is very, very clean at the end of the year. This year, I mean, listen, we had to do a lot of extra this year. So we didn't have the same kind of time we normally had because this year been a lot. It's been a lot. So yeah, we're still working on it. We're still getting through it. We're still getting through those things. Have a good one. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for showing up. Thank you so much for watching the videos. Go ahead and like, share, subscribe to the page, especially the YouTube. I will focus on building that, not just for me, but more so for really trying to get the information out to as many folks as possible. And let me tell you, when someone said like, just the fact that you reach out to one person, that's enough and that's big. I'm telling you, like even if this, someone was saying like, oh, you're a small platform, but let me tell you, this is a small platform that has impact. And I know it has impact because I've seen some of the consequences, or I've seen action based on things that we talked about on this platform, we talked about on this show. So it may be a small community, but I'm telling you, it's small and mighty, and it's making changes and it's making a difference. And every now, just that one person or two people will come up to me like, I watch your show. Thank you. I learned about this. I'll keep doing what you're doing. That's enough to keep me going. So have a happy, blessed, prosperous new year. Give yourself grace, give yourself grace. All right. Thank you. Hey, y'all. Sandra Sheffrin, host of Racing the Races. Go ahead. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel called Racing the Races. Subscribe to our TikTok page, Racing the Races, and like us on Facebook and Instagram, Racing the Races. Go ahead. Support the page. I'm tired of getting crazy comments from these white dude trolls that's mad. Like, why y'all mad in the comments now? So come on, y'all. Those who are fans of the show, go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Also, comment on the video. Tell us what else you would like to see, instead of me having to read all these trolling comments. But I see it as a compliment because I showed up in their feed and I really don't know who they are. And since they're not challenging the content is good. They want to make personal attacks, but that's okay. So I need y'all to go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube page, subscribe to TikTok. All of it is called Racing the Races, and go ahead and like us on Facebook and Instagram.